Well, shooters and reloaders out there, good evening to all of you. And it's Fortune Cookie 45 LC coming to you from the Hot Lead Zone. And how many of you out there just got a new rifle? Well, this happens to be a Thompson Center Encore 28-inch Pro Hunter stainless steel barrel in .223 caliber. Now I've had this for about, I guess maybe a month and a half or so, but I didn't do a video on it because there are other things going on. At any rate, Midway USA was running a ridiculous sale on this barrel because they had like 12 of them in stock and they wanted to get their inventory moved. Well, it was like $253 or was it $223, something like that. Ridiculous. I couldn't pass it up. Even though I didn't need another 223, but it's fun having one in the Encore Pro Hunter platform. So I'm going to look forward to shooting this barrel. But what do you do when you get a new barrel or a new rifle? Well, first of all, you go ahead and clean the gun, clean the barrel, and then you learn how to field strip your rifle while doing that, because you need to do that to clean the gun. So it's very good to familiarize yourself with the gun by doing that. Then we go ahead and mount a scope if the rifle is going to have a scope. Well, this one has to have it because the barrel doesn't have any sights. So I went ahead and installed the scope, and then we bore sighted it so it's all ready to go to the range. So I'm going to be taking this to the range to shoot some factory ammo and also to get some fired brass so that I can use my RCBS precision mic to determine the head space of the barrel. So I'll know what that is and I'll know how to set the brass when I do the reloads. But the next thing you want to do is you want to go ahead and tabulate all the information on your new rifle, such as how long's the barrel. This is 28 inches. That's 28 inches. And then the weight of the rifle. The entire Thompson Center Encore rifle with the scope on there and this barrel is 10 pounds. So it's pretty heavy, but it's got a heavy barrel. And it has 1 turn and 12 inches rifling twist rate. Right hand twist, 5 grooves. Now I'm not going to go ahead and slug the barrel because I'm not going to shoot lead bullets in it. It's a 22. So the next thing you're going to do is gather up all the bullets you have in the caliber. And a lot of us have a lot of bullets in 22 caliber, so there are all the different bullets I have in 22 caliber. And what we want to do is to establish the overall length to reach the lens of the rifling with the ogive of the bullet of each one of these bullets, so that when I do the reloading of any of these, I'll know exactly what the overall length is, and I might want to set the bullet back, say several thousandths of touching the lens to get the most accurate load. Well, you can't do that unless you know what the distance to the lens is for each bullet. And to do that, we're going to use it's actually a Stony Point chamber overall length gauge. But Hornady bought out the rights to this, and so Hornady is producing it now. And the way it works is you buy one of these inserts for your caliber. And this one happens to be 223 5.56. So you buy this, and it's like $6 or $7, and then you install it on the end of your Stony Point gauge. And you can use this to find out the distance to the lens, because what you're going to do is there's a little rod here that when you push it, you see, it pushes the bullet out of this case. So what you do is you pull the rod back, and then you take the bullet that you're determining the distance to the lens, and you place that into the case like this. And it just drops all the way in. Well, then you use the rod and see the bullet starting to come out there? So the idea then is to take this gauge and put it into your chamber and then advance the bullet until it touches the rifling, and then you can lock that reading. And then when you assemble the bullet again with that rod, you can measure this distance. And then once you've got that measurement, you can use your Hornady bullet comparator if you want to go to the ogive and take a reading off of that. So you either have the overall length measured to the tip of the bullet, or you can use your comparator to the ogive by using, say, the Hornady bullet comparator. So you see what I've done here is I've unlocked the rod and I've pulled the bullet back so that there's plenty of advancement that's possible. And then we go ahead and insert the case into the chamber, as you see there, all the way in. Then you advance the rod until you feel the bullet hit the lens of the rifling. And then you go ahead and lock the rod. Then you pull out your case. Now if the bullet stays in the chamber, then you've got to use the cleaning rod to knock it out. Then put the bullet back in, and you've got the distance to the lens right there. All you got to do is measure this, and then you can use the cartridge length when you have that distance and take a comparator reading on it if you want to do that. So that's how you go ahead and establish the overall length. In this case, it's for the Midway bulk 50 grain hollow point. But you would do this for every one of the bullets you have in your inventory and then log that into your tabulation notes. So you see, I went ahead and measured that, mic'd that, and the Midway 50 grain hollow point bullet, the overall length to reach the lens is 2.211 inches, and I went ahead and tabulated that there. Well, sometimes when you add another bullet, your manufacturer's index is out of order, but that's okay. You can rearrange that, or you can enter this information into your computer and it'll organize it for you, of course. Now, interestingly, those of you out there who have the Thompson Center Encore or the G2 or the Contender, it goes back to the Contender, then G2, then the Encore. They came out with the Encore because they wanted more versatility, so they needed to have the accommodation in the dimensions here to allow shotguns and pistols and rifles, more powerful rifle rounds, to be used. And that's why the Encore was developed. The Encore is the highest development of this system, and it has the Pro Hunter now is the top of the line. But at any rate, if you look at this, it's very interesting how this works. When you push this release, what happens is a couple of little extensions moves forward on either side of the receiver in there. And notice there is a inset shoulder down there where a lug can go into that to lock it into the receiver. And what that is, every Encore barrel has this lug that's on a powerful spring that is set into this part that's welded to the barrel. And there's the pivot that enables the barrel to break open from the receiver. At any rate, when you activate the trigger guard release mechanism, those two little extensions on both sides of the receiver push on this lug that's spring loaded, and it pushes right here on this little rounded extension, and that enables the locking lug to be pushed in and release from the receiver. Now that's ingenious, but it's very simple. Did not take John Browning to figure that one out. And I wonder, all of us out there who have some kind of mechanical ideas in our mind, Why didn't we dream that up? We could have dreamed that up and created our own firearms company back in the 60s or 70s. And if you look at this, you ask a question, why doesn't Ruger come out with some kind of system that's a takeoff of this and create their own line of single shots? They made that Ruger #1 instead, which is pretty complicated. Beautiful rifle, but they could have come out with something simple like this. And how modular is this system? Tremendously so. And there have been varying designs of break open shotguns that work along the same kind of ideas anyway. So once again, I wonder why we didn't think of this simple system that is yet so strong that Thompson Center had the respect of the entire reloading industry, because there were loads that were more powerful that were destined and designated for Thompson Center and Ruger's only, because again these actions were so strong. Now of course I keep a rag with mineral oil so that every chance I get I can go ahead and wipe off the innards of our guns. So we wipe off the innards before, get a little bit of mineral oil in there before we put the gun back together. Now the easiest way to get this pin back in is to put the barrel and the receiver together and put the pin in from the right hand side as you're looking from the left hand side, looking down into this. And with a light you can actually see the pin lining up in there, and once you've got it, it just slides right in. Doesn't take any forcing at all. But if you try and put it in from this side, the problem is you're getting out of alignment and it's hard to get it in. So once again, if you go from the other side, put the pin in from the right while you're looking from the left, and you can actually see it lining up and going in there. So that's the way to do it. Now as for the forend, when you took it off, you back the screws out until you hear the little counter click when the threads click over. And then you go ahead and loosen the other one. And then when you take the forend off, you leave it like this, and the screws never fall out of these openings. They just stay there. So when you put it back on, you just reverse your procedure. And that's a good way to do it. There's also washers in there. You don't want those washers to fall out either. So I found the easiest way is to spot the hole in the barrel and then move your forend until the screw sights right down onto where the hole was, and then you start to tighten the screw and you'll catch that screw hole without any problem. Once you get the first one in, the second one lines up easily. Now you might have a different way to do it and that works out fine, but if you don't have a way to do it, you might try that and see if it works for you. So you see, here you go. You go ahead and pull the release, and that unlocks the lugs and unlocks the lug. The lug goes back into the barrel, clears the receiver shoulder, and then the thing breaks open. And then when it locks up very sure because that lug is very strong. And it locks up solidly because of the spring that drives that lug against the shoulder in the receiver. Really ingenious and simple. So one of the first things I'll do after I go ahead and shoot some factory loads in this rifle barrel is to measure the head space, tabulate it right here, and then when we do load development, we'll be able to go ahead and take notes on all the load development that we will be doing, and we'll see if we can rig this with a bipod and also a sling so that it'll be ready to go to the varmint fields should we get the chance to do that. So my plans are to clean the rifle after every 10 rounds. That gives a chance for the barrel to cool. And then we're going to go ahead and do copper removal, not all the copper, but just remove some of the copper buildup every 30 rounds. So we're going to do the multiple groups with factory ammo, then we're going to start Then we're going to start doing our reloads in 5-shot groups, employing the ladder system to determine the most accurate powder charge for the particular bullet we're going to go ahead and use. Now, with a 1 12-inch twist, this barrel is set up for the lighter weight bullets, so we probably can't shoot anything heavier than, say, 69 grains, because heavier than that requires a faster rifling twist to stabilize those bullets. Now, interestingly, you're going to find that when you look at the overall lengths that you have to work with, they will not jive with the overall lengths that's published in the reloading manuals. For instance, you'll see one that'll have a certain length and it's actually longer than what your own gun will be able to take. So if you load according to this, the bullets will be jamming into the lens and won't chamber. So you gotta go by what you have here instead of what you have here. Also, if your gun takes a magazine, then you're gonna have to make sure that your rounds will feed through the magazine. And one way you can do it is measure the widest part of the follower, because that follower has to be able to function through that magazine very well, and the follower is also made to be pretty much the width of the magazine opening. So if you match the maximum width of the follower, you can't go wrong with it feeding your magazine. If you're a little bit shorter than that, that's even better. But whether it's a plastic magazine or a metal magazine, you can measure that follower without any problem with your calipers. And if you use the overall lengths in the manuals, you might find that those don't jive for the magazine either. It's possible that there'll be incongruities there, and your own measurements will supersede. But there you go. Interestingly, you'll find that the bullets that have cantilures, that your overall length will be a little bit longer than the cantilever, so that if you were to actually seat to the cantilever, you're within the overall length maximum for that bullet. They do that on purpose. Most of our guns are going to fall into that. One of the charms about the Thompson Center Encore is that it's a modern version of the old Remington rolling block or the Sharps rifle. And you know how much we like the Sharps rifle? Well, what you got here is a 28-inch barrel, not quite a 34-inch barrel like on a Sharps, not an octagon barrel, but you got a heavy fluted barrel, and it feels like a Sharps, sounds like a Sharps, works like a Sharps, shoots every bit as good as a Sharps, in calibers like the Sharps, like the rolling block. So a lot to be said for a Thompson Center Encore. It's a very effective, efficient, single-shot rifle, and a joy to own. So shooters and reloaders out there, good shooting to all of you, and we'll see you next video. Bye for now.